Okay, we had kind of a rocky start with Prisma Illya, and 2wei was about 50-50 with the good and the bad. But we just had some new characters introduced, we just had a major plot bomb dropped right at the end of Season 2. So now the bar's been raised, and if we can just get back to the action and just stay focused on the story this time...
And a lot of people tend to refer to derivative BL works as yaoi.
If we can stay focused on the plot and the action...
Try giving me some of your spiz.
If we can focus on...
Am I sexy?
If we can focus...
I'd better just snip it off.
Blade, coming out and finish it.
No! I don't want to watch it! You can't make me!
If you don't finish it, I'm making you review Boku no Pico next.
You wouldn't dare!
Get up there.
Damn it. Got my hopes up too soon. I really need to stop doing that.
2wei Herz, 2wei being wordplay for the German word for two, which is zwei, and Herz being German for heart, is the third season of fake Kaleid Liner Prisma Illya. The story picks back up pretty much exactly where 2wei left off, but I'm sad to say that this season has even more filler than the previous two, and while Season 1 had some Yuri undertones, and 2wei had some FBI-worthy lowly Yuri, 2wei Herz has moments that are mind-numbingly stupid, and it's almost insulting how much they derail the story when they just had this major plot development.
Let's see just how bad they can screw this up. This is fake Kaleid Liner 2wei Herz.
This season starts off with our main characters and friends preparing for their summer beach trip. Illya doesn't really have a swimsuit, so they decide to go shopping, and while they're out looking for a suit, Ilya's friends decide to get her to try on a slingshot.
Don't be so dramatic. You're acting like it's gonna hurt you. What's the camera for?
Again, you are 11. This is creepy.
Speaking of creepy, Kuro's low on mana and needs a recharge, so she and Illya need to go elsewhere. They're followed by their friend Mimi, who is the least memorable of their little group of side characters. Mimi sees the mana transfer taking place, and she gets the wrong idea about what's happening.
I'm really drained. Then I'll go get Miu.
By hearing this, Mimi thinks that Illya, Kuro, and Miu are in some sort of love triangle, and later she starts to fantasize about it.
The only thing I can do now is write a story about the mind-blowing experience I've had today.
By the way, do I know you? Do you go to our school?
You really don't remember me?
Make note of that. Not going to say why just yet, but keep that in mind. Mimi is so forgettable that even the main characters forget that she's there. Just remember that. Just remember that.
Well, after that totally necessary sequence, we continue on with more filler that doesn't advance the overall plot. The family's having dinner, and we get more Shiro teasing.
You're so mean, Shiro! And after I went to the trouble of picking out a super cute bikini just so I could show off for you!
Sorry, I can't wait to see it.
Excuse me? Then I suppose you think of me, you and the other girls as fair game, don't you?
Why are you guys picking on Shiro so much? Making him the butt of every joke doesn't automatically make it funny. It'd be funnier if it was Shinji Mato because he's a piece of trash, but Shiro's a genuinely nice guy who doesn't deserve this kind of punishment.
The teasing continues when Kuro comes into the kitchen in a set of see-through pajamas.
Am I sexy?
This is really pushing it.
Later that night, Illya, Kuro, Miu, and Airi all decide to sleep in the same bed together, and they talk about what boys they like. Kuro likes Shiro, and they joke about how Shiro might try to take advantage of so many girls who like him, even though Shiro would obviously never do.
I'd better just snip it off.
Ryu, he's running away again.
Give me the Mega Buster.
You heard right, folks. Airi just said she castrated her own son because other people like him, even though he has not made any sort of advancements whatsoever.
This is making me wish for a reenactment of Kiritsugu's time inside the Holy Grail.
Anyways, on to the next episode, finally. It starts with them finally reaching the beach, and Shiro has agreed to chaperone the girls along with his friend Issei Ryudo.
Oh yeah, by the way, you remember Suzuka, the girl with the glasses? Yeah, you remember back in Season 1 she was drawing that yaoi picture in art class? Yeah, the thing is, she immediately starts writing a yaoi fanfic based after Shiro and Issei just because they're friends. I know that a lot of fandoms do that nowadays, just giving anybody a ship whenever they have any sort of interaction at all, but people doing it in real life is just plain creepy.
Anyway, we continue with more filler until we find Bazette, and she's selling popsicles because she has a debt to pay off because she blew up Luvia's mansion. So now we get down to why they're at the beach to begin with. The actual birthday party.
We're all pretty tired, so we were thinking we should go home now.
Oh, did you jerks forget why we came here? Today's the triple birthday party, don't you remember?
I just saw your birthday as an excuse to go to the beach.
Worst friends ever.
I really appreciate everybody coming out, even though it's kinda hot.
Speeches are a fun sucker, Illya.
Why do you hang out with these people, Illya?
So Shiro gives the 3 girls birthday gifts, and they all get matching charm bracelets. Miyu's never had a birthday party before, so she doesn't exactly understand the deal behind it, but she tries to give a nice, heartfelt thank you speech to all the attendees.
What did we just tell you about touchy-feely speeches?
Okay, that's it. You guys, you're all fired. Door's over there. Last check's in the mail. Now hiring a new supporting cast for a Bad Fate spinoff.
If you want to show us your gratitude, then take your presents and put them on right now!
They actually bought the skimpy swimsuits for the birthday girls.
Who thought this is a good idea? Who thought it would be a good idea to make a Fate series where you have 11-year-old girls trying to be put into slingshots and thongs? Whoever you are, you're fired too.
Also, minor note, I think it's just worth mentioning, in the original continuity, Ilya's birthday was November 20th, the middle of fall. So yeah, they're going to be at the beach in the middle of fall. I understand this is a different continuity, but I thought it was just worth mentioning. Another thing they changed. Again, I say these are the worst friends ever. They use Ilya's birthday as an excuse to go to the beach, forget about her birthday, shame her when she tries to be grateful, and then they try to dress her up in that. Ugh. The argument is cut short by a construction site going up. Rin and Luvia are there, and Bizet shows up, giving us a standoff. Mio reminds us that the 8th class card is underground, so the construction site is to help them dig a tunnel to find it.
That little moment, that tiny moment right there, that was some actual plot advancement. It's one of the few precious moments that we get a plot advancement in the first half of the season. Cherish it well. You will not see another one for a long time.
Ilya's awful friends walk by and notice that Luvia and Rin are there. Apparently Nanaki recognizes them because they accidentally hurt her sister. To sum up the next several minutes, it devolves into a fight over who gets to date Shiro, because Rin likes him, Luvia likes him, and Nanaki's big sister likes him, and Bizet is trying to sell popsicles, and they all start chasing Ilya, wanting to hear her take on things. And then Ruby shows up.
I thought I detected the lack of a migraine headache.
It turns out Ruby was working on a love potion, and she plans to inject Shiro with it, again trying to get him and Ilya to have a pseudo-incestual relationship. The problem is that it wasn't a love potion, it was a truth serum.
You have really big boobs. As for you, Rin, you wear your skirt short because you have no boobs.
And of course, because Shiro can't control what he's saying now, he ends up getting clobbered by Rin.
So thank you, Ruby. Now I have even more reason to hate you. You were annoying before, and all the Shiro abuse was just so unwarranted, but this is just despicable.
Ruby then proceeds to inject everybody except Ilya and Shiro with a sedative, and then she sticks Shiro with the real love potion, but just before they can kiss...
You're despicable, Illya! Shoot! That one's so quiet! I forgot her.
Again, she was forgotten by our main characters, and again, I'll ask you to remember this.
Mimi thinks that Ilya is trying to be a player, and Ruby is having a laugh about it, and so Sapphire delivers some much-needed justice.
Oh dear!
They end up going home with 2 hours of their memory missing, and as a result of that, Bizet didn't sell enough popsicles and gets in trouble with her boss. And then we move on to...
Oh god, this episode. This episode is, hands down, the worst in the entire series. Remember how I asked you to remember just how forgettable Mimi is? This is the episode why I asked you to remember that.
This episode is going to focus on this character that nobody cares enough about to remember. She can't sleep at night because she saw Ilya and Kuro kissing, and she thinks that there's some weird love triangle going on.
I'll write a story about it!
So while Ilya and company are trying to do their homework, Mimi's trying to write an erotic fanfiction about Ilya, Kuro, and Mimi, but those three aren't acting the way she thinks they should act. She then comes up with the idea to write all three of them as boys, and writes a reverse harem story with herself being the center of it.
Is this what kids are into nowadays? Like, sincerely, is this a thing? Do kids just go around writing fanfictions about their classmates? I wonder what South Park might have to say about that.
Suzuka, the glasses girl, gets home and her sister suddenly dumps a lot of work on her as soon as she's there. She apparently helps her sister write yaoi manga, which is why she's often seen writing her own. Suzuka needs help to come up with the story, and remembers that Mimi was writing a story earlier in the day. So they kidnap Mimi, take her story, publish it, and sell copies at Comiket.
So that's what we're doing now. I thought we were watching a Fate series, but I guess not. Now we're taking a detour for an entire episode to look at one of the most forgettable characters in the show and her exploration into the world of yaoi. That's it. I'm done. I quit. I'm out of here.
Blade? Come back! No! Get back here! You know what? Boat.
So Suzuka, being the genius that she is, and knowing that Mimi doesn't want others to know about this, decides it'd be a great idea to tell Ilya and her friends that they're the main characters of a yaoi story now. Mimi shows up, and Suzuka tells them to hide in the closet.
You're gonna have to find out for yourself. And in the meantime, this book ought to help you get a basic understanding.
Mimi comes in and talks with Suzuka while Illya, Kuro, and Miu start flipping through the yaoi manga while Mimi is fangirling about the book she just read. Illya and Kuro bust out of the closet and try to have an intervention, and Mimi says that she's now writing stories about Issei and Shiro in a relationship. The discussion gets too loud, and Suzuka's sister comes back into the room.
I was in the closet with my BL CD doing my pseudo-voyeurism and you rude little brats interrupted me!
Did you really just say that? Did you really just say that? For those watching, do you know what voyeurism is? Here's the definition right here.
So if you would, please permit me to explain everything that is wrong with this little sequence that just happened. First, writing erotic fanfictions about 3 of her classmates. Second, Mimi writing erotic fanfictions about one of her classmates' brothers. Third, this chick barging in and announcing that she was trying to masturbate and telling it to a group of 11-year-olds.
But believe it or not, it gets worse!
After everyone takes a minute to cool their heads, Illya says that even if Mimi is into some weird stuff, they can still be friends. And Mimi says that she thinks that boys should be allowed to date boys and girls should be allowed to date girls. And then everybody except Miu looks at her like she's a freak. Even the 2 yaoi-obsessed chicks think that she's being weird. So they think it's okay to fantasize about it, but not to practice it in real life. That makes them freaking hypocrites.
Like I said, worst episode of the whole show. But we're not done yet!
Our next episode is in the underground tunnel, and
Thank God! We're finally progressing the plot a little bit!
they're digging deeper and deeper, and they're having Illya and her friends test the structural integrity of the tunnel. And after literally 2 minutes of plot advancement, we're back to the filler.
No! Plot! Come back! Please! I need you!
Yes, we get another filler episode. The gist of this one is that Illya and company go to a theme park called Animal World, where there's only lion mascots apparently. Nothing much of substance. It is nice to see Irisville spending time with her kids, but that's the most development we get. A lot of wasted time, there's a little subplot where Irie gets pulled away to try on some wedding dresses, and Illya loses her charm bracelet, but they find it at the end of the day. They find Karen at the Lost Child Center because she likes to see children being miserable. The park is crawling with lion mascots, but this one in particular stands out because it's very agile and acrobatic. Of course, it ends up being Bizette working another part-time job. Also, Saber Lion makes a small cameo, but they forgot her cowlick.
You see that? I was able to sum up everything of substance in that episode in just a few minutes. It's not that this episode was bad, it just literally didn't add anything of substance. There's barely any character development, and it wasn't nearly as bad as episode 3 of this season, but it just didn't really add anything. Just a complete padding episode with not a lot of development.
The most we get is that Irie shows up later and she seems to recognize Karen but says nothing, and Karen and Bizette know each other, but that's really all it is. Episode 5 is a festival episode, and that means even more filler with little plot advancement. Everybody's getting ready to go to a festival. Reen, acting as Luvia's maid, tells Luvia that people aren't supposed to wear underwear under a yukata, so she should go commando. Of course, this is for hijinks later. Miu thinks too much by overanalyzing cotton candy, taking into account labor time to produce it, the price of sugar, as well as labeling, and saying that it's a ripoff. She's not wrong, but at festivals, people don't care much.
When it comes to festivals, you can't put a price on fun!
Tatsuko!
Wow, Tatsuko said something that was right for once. Like I said, not really a lot of substance in this episode. But there is this one kind of funny part where Ruby gets jealous when Illya wins a Magical Girl Mask and Wand set based after the anime she was watching in the first season. Later, they run into Bizette, who is running one of the stands, and Kuro tries to use her trace ability to make sure the game is rigged. Luvia shows up and just right out buys the game stand. She and Rin are only here to see Shiro, and he's actually helping out with one of the food stands. Later, after he gets off, Rin and Luvia are both trying to impress Shiro.
Can you believe some people think you're not supposed to wear any underwear with these things?
Oh, wow.
Rin tricked Luvia, obviously, so as payback, Luvia pops water balloon on Rin's back.
Look, if you needed to go, you could have just said something.
I know I should be more angry at this for how stupid and immature these two are acting, but I feel that every time they do something stupid, I'm just growing more and more numb to it.
Illya then reveals that she's not wearing underwear either and uses Ruby to cover up.
Now that's a pretty picture if I've ever seen one.
Shut up, you're annoying.
The most important part of any transformation is the naked fan service.
Your fourth wall breaks aren't clever, and they never were, Ruby.
Using it to prevent nudity is the highest form of entertainment blasphemy! Shut the hell up!
And that's pretty much it for this episode. It ends with them watching a fireworks show. Bizette gets in trouble with her boss, but surprisingly there's no Shiro abuse. I expected a little, but there was none actually. That was a nice surprise. Next episode, it's a hot summer day. Everybody's trying to cool off. Irie and Liz have set up a pool in the backyard, and we get a few fan service shots.
Shiro?
Stop now!
Huh? Ow! Why me?
Ah, there's the Shiro abuse that was missing from the last episode. Stella tells them that they got a letter from August, and the family is invited to a party at Luvia's place to celebrate the mansion being rebuilt. Just a casual lunch party. Until Irie decides to give Rin and Luvia candid photos of Shiro. Why? Just why? We do get to see August being awesome by showing off his knife skills. That's pretty cool. Some slight Shiro teasing, but I'll let it slide.
Is my meat not appealing to you, young master?
Once the lunch party is over, they decide to hold a strategy meeting. They found the 8th card and are going after it. Rin explains that the card has absorbed a lot more mana than any of the other cards up until now, so it's going to be the strongest opponent they've ever faced. A good bit later, they have a moment where Irie explains a little bit about the Holy Grail War, and insists that there can't be an 8th class card.
Fate Grand Order begs to differ.
Rin goes to pay Bizette a visit, and apparently she knows something about Illya, Kuro, and Miyu, and she thinks that they're actually tied to the class cards and the Holy Grail War. Illya and Kuro steel themselves for the coming battle and head to the rendezvous point. We pick back up with them powering up, and
That's what magical girls are all about!
Do me a favor and just die already!
now that we're actually doing something relevant, they begin to descend into the tunnel and wait for Bizette to arrive. When she does, she reveals that she broke the shared pain curse, and Illya questions why Kuro still has hers. They enter the mirror dimension, and the new heroic spirit is waiting for them. It's surrounded by a mist of black mana. Luvia charges in first, dropping gems all throughout the battlefield, while Illya, Rin, and Miyu start charging. Luvia deploys her gem magic, and Rin conjures a series of focusing rings for the magical girls to shoot through.
Swords! Hammer! Fire!
Even though that's not enough to kill the enemy they're facing, Kuro generates an Excalibur arrow and blasts through the mist, but it gets blocked by a massive shield. They try to retreat, and Bizette charges in, jumping over the shield and getting impaled by a massive volley of flying swords. Bizette knows that some of these injuries are fatal, and as a result, she can unleash a new magic ability, and she punches the Shadow Servant in the face. Rin equates this ability to a noble phantasm. However, Bizette's attacks aren't working, and she's getting driven back. Kuro jumps in and shields everybody with a Roias as Bizette tries to attack him again. Realizing that all the weapons being used against her are noble phantasms, she attacks with Fraggle Rock and breaks through the wall of flying swords.
Here I go!
Bizette punches her hand clean through the enemy, revealing that the 8th class card was actually another archer. They retreat back into the real world, but they're not alone. The Phantom Archer follows them, having brandished a new weapon. Luvia decides to bring the roof down on top of the enemy, trying to keep him in there. It's useless though, because the enemy apparently has a flying chariot. Once they make it to the surface, they start planning on how to deal with this archer when Karen shows up. She gives them a pep talk, telling them to observe the situation. She put the entire city to sleep so nobody will witness the fight, and our party takes shelter at Tatsuko's family's beach house to regain their strength. And because we apparently forgot we're watching an incestual lowly Yuri anime, Kuro and Illya decide to go make out for a little bit. Karen tells everybody that the archer is heading for Mount Enzo, which is where the formula for the Holy Grail War is being hidden. It seems that is the archer's plan to start another Holy Grail War. Kuro explains the Holy Grail to Luvia and Rin, while Karen explains it to Bizette. It seems that there's actually a second ritual that could be invoked to summon the Grail, and that's what they think the Shadow Archer is after. Illya and Miyu follow him to the mountaintop, and he shatters the ground, revealing a giant magic circle. Illya jumps in, trying to shove Archer out of the circle, but it turns out that the Shadow Servant has taken physical form, and it's Kid Gilgamesh. But they left the Shadow Servant inside the circle.
What is this soft, squishy thing in my hand?
Do you think maybe you could be a little more gentle when you touch me next time?
Episode 9 starts with Illya freaking out and shooting a volley of energy bullets at Kid Gil. She's very uncomfortable with the naked King of Heroes being in front of her.
I'm not the least bit ashamed of my body.
Is that a Fate Extra reference?
He opens the gate of Babylon and dons some clothes so that Illya will stop freaking out. The others are rushing to the scene. Karen collapses and starts coughing blood. Always pleasant. So the young Gilgamesh says that the Holy Grail War is still incomplete and needs Miyu. She lashes out as Gil talks like he knows her.
Princess from another world.
Large arms extend from the glowing dome and grab Miyu, trying to pull her in, and he reveals that Miyu is actually a completed Holy Grail as opposed to the incompleted Grails like Illya and Kuro. Not wanting to be used for a war, Miyu gives Sapphire to Illya and tells her to destroy both the Grail and Gilgamesh. Taking that as a challenge, Kid Gil jumps into his new form inside the dome and merges with it. Illya jumps down, uses the assassin card to avoid getting hit, and slaps Gilgamesh across the face. Kuro rescues her before she gets impaled, and they regroup. Illya then takes both Kaleidosticks and does a double trance. Just one more. We're almost done. Irie shows up, finding Karen on the side of the road, and says that the Holy Grail War shouldn't be able to start as long as she's there, but Karen tells her that there's a second formula. So Super Magical Girl Illya proceeds to take on the new form of Gilgamesh, and she's a lot more powerful than her previous form. She's using her entire body as magic circuits to increase her power. The others voice concerns that it will likely hurt her, and Kuro starts to feel pain from Illya. Everybody decides to do a combo attack and to break through Gil's giant shield and pierce his body. But Gil's not finished yet. He brings out his most prized weapon, Ea, a sword that's so strong it could render dimensions asunder.
Now, any Fate fan worth their salt will know that whenever Gilgamesh busts out Ea, it's always a big deal. Even if he's not going all out with it, it's always a big spectacle.
Gil uses Enema Unleash, and Illya blasts as much power as she can, destroying Gil's body, freeing Mio from her prison. So despite them saying that this much power is going to tear Ilya's body apart, the worst she gets is just a little bit exhausted. No lasting injuries, no broken bones, no hospital visit, no body cast afterward. Meh. After saving Mio, life just goes on as normal. Everybody acts like nothing happened, except when somebody says 8th card, that's almost a trigger word. Meanwhile, Reen, Luvia, and Bizet are trying to figure out what to tell the Mages Association about the class cards. They decide to lie to the higher-ups to buy some time.
Man, as a season finale, that was kind of dull by comparison. Sure, Gilgamesh was cool and all, but... Oh, right, we gotta have a teaser for next season. Okay, let's see what we got here.
Okay, inside the mountain, the Archer class card, a golden boot, 2 characters.
But the camera fades out, so I can't really tell who they are. One looks like a gender-bait Gilgamesh, and the other one looks like...
Red clothes and hair. Furred cape.
No! It can't be! Actually, no it's not. When I first watched this series, I thought that that was this world's equivalent of a Skandar, and I was going to have to come back and watch Season 4 because of it. But it turns out it's actually not a Skandar, it's somebody else that I don't really care about, and so I'm not going to watch Season 4 then.
Of these 3 seasons, 2wei Herz is easily the worst. I know I keep comparing it to a fanfiction and keep saying that it feels like it's written by the creative minds behind Teen Titans Go and My Immortal, but now, because of this, we get Illya and Kuro making out all the time, we can throw Kiss X Sis into the mix. Yeah, it's an anime where this kid keeps making out with his adopted sisters because he develops crushes on them. It's still kind of creepy, even though they're technically not blood related. This happening with Illya and Kuro makes it even creepier because they technically are kind of blood related because Kuro's new body was created from Illya, so it's just really, really weird and it's just unnerving. I don't feel clean watching this. Again, I'm afraid the FBI is going to bust down my door for watching this, and they just took so long to actually get to the plot with this season that I just lost interest. But even with all these problems, there are still people who are in the Fate community that I know that are still big fans of this show. I can't really understand why, mostly because, I mean, well, look at all the bad that I have stacked up over here. It does have great fight sequences, sure, and when they actually stick to the plot, it's really good. But they derail the plot way too much to stay focused on it. But not everybody has to like the same thing. Not everybody has to like Fate Zero. Not everyone has to like Fate Stay Night, and not everyone has to like Fate Kaleid Liner. I mean, just the way I dislike Kaleid Liner, I like things that other people dislike. That's why we have opinions. We're allowed to have our own thoughts and feelings. Maybe some people do see more in this than I do.
I say to you without a hint of sarcasm or irony at all, my favorite Star Wars movie is The Phantom Menace, and that upsets so many people in the Star Wars community.
I would compare Fate Kaleid Liner the way a lot of people take Star Wars Episode 1. They say that it either changed or deviated too much from what they originally loved about it, like the way the Force operates and so on and so forth, and I say Fate Kaleid Liner deviated a little too much from how the Holy Grail War is supposed to operate. But we can concur about this in both regards. They both have really great action sequences. For all the diehard purist Star Wars fans out there who hate the prequels, they can all at least agree that Episode 1 had a really great lightsaber duel. And for here, even though I really don't like what they did with Kaleid Liner, I have to admit, most of the fight sequences, with the exception of the Battle of Gilgamesh, were really, really awesome. Sure, the fight with Gilgamesh in the Mirror World was kind of cool, but the climax with Illya fighting him as a dual magical girl was a little too much Deus Ex Machina, and it wasn't really as exciting as the rest of it. So while I will admit there is good in this series, it could have been great, it could have been better. It is nice to see Illya actually get to function as part of a normal family, as opposed to being a weapon for the Holy Grail War. And realistically, I could actually see Irisville being that way if she was given the opportunity to be a real mom. You know, aside from all the Shiro abuse. And honestly, the worst part of this whole series is Ruby herself. If she were rewritten completely, make her a little less fourth wall aware, she can make a joke once in a while, but the fact that she is doing it constantly just makes it grating and really pretentious.
Many people have told me that Season 4 and the movie actually get really good, but I stopped caring after the third episode of this series. They're gonna derail the plot that much to focus on somebody who doesn't matter to the overall story, and that whole little plot thread hasn't even been mentioned since. And I just stopped caring after that point. If the writers are gonna care so little that they're willing to derail the plot that badly, then I can't really find myself caring either, and I don't really see myself revisiting this series.
So you're not going to be reviewing Season 4?
I'll tell you what, Rio. I'll review Season 4 in the movie when you play DMC Devil May Cry. Yeah, that's what I thought. The point that I'm getting at is that just because someone else might like fake Kaleid Liner and I don't, that doesn't mean I'm going to belittle their opinion or think any less than them. You like what you like, and if you like this, then that's your thing. So if you would like to see Illya as a magical girl and having a much more relevant part to the story, and if you're not creeped out by the pseudo-incest or the extremely creepy friends and completely derailing the plot whenever we have more important things to focus on, but you do enjoy really good action sequences, then I would say give the series a try. Like I've said before, I might go back and rewatch just the fight sequences, but I'm not going to watch the rest of the series again. I just don't really think it's worth my time, and as I said, I don't really see myself watching Season 4 and onward. This has been BladeCrossEXE, part of Flashing Blades Productions. Thank you all so much for watching, thank you for listening to me ramble, and if you excuse me for a minute, I'm going to go watch something else. Huh. Hey Rio, what you up to?
Just looking up what the next Grand Order event is.
Oh really? What is it?
Blade! Get back here!